we're ready. Good evening. I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Gloucester School Committee's Building and Finance Subcommittee. Today is Wednesday, February 12th, 2025. We are meeting here in person at the Gloucester High School Library located at 32 Leslie O. Johnson Road in Gloucester, Mass. And we are also obviously with Zoom. Effective August 16th, 2023, the public is welcome to attend our meetings in person. Alternatively, the public may attend through the Zoom link listed on the agenda. The meeting notice will reflect if the meeting is a Zoom only. As the recent amendments to open meeting law allows, this subcommittee may continue to hold meetings remotely. Please note the in-person meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the remote connection. We'll start with introductions and let's start on this side of the table.
Stephanie DeLisi, recording secretary.
James Cook, principal of Gloucester High School.
Mike Titus, principal at O'Malley Innovation Middle School.
Bill Melvin, Gloucester School Committee.
Kathy Clancy, Gloucester School Committee.
Melissa Prince, School Committee.
Amy Pascarelli, Assistant Superintendent.
Cody Marshall, Finance Director.
Thank you. And I believe on Zoom, do you have Gary on Zoom?
Yeah, Gary Frisch, CFO.
Thank you, Gary. Okay. The first order of business is reports, deliberations, and discussions. We are having our priority meetings, and our first guest tonight is Gloucester High School budget with Principal James Cook. Amy, are you taking the lead?
I will share, yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
I think I even have a
The middle school queued up, so just give me 1 second here.
Do it middle school or high school?
She announced high school,
Oh,
so
okay.
we can adjust.
No.
There we are.
I have high school listed as first on
Yeah,
the perfect.
that's what I
Yep.
thought. But you haven't.
None of these shenanigans like we had the other night
All right.
with the IT transportation.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
All right, so Principal Cook.
All right, so these are our budget priorities for FY 2026 coming up. And we'll go in order, start with some areas of strength, primarily recognized by previously by NEASC, the accreditation process. So not just things that we think we're good at, but things we've been told we're good at, priorities for the coming school year, the work we're already doing on our priorities, and then what we need to do to strengthen those priority areas. So areas of strength. Next. Positive school culture, safe, positive, respectful, inclusive culture, promoting equity, and honoring diversity throughout our school. We're a place where relationships with students are extremely important. Show students that we care about them before they will be willing to learn from us. So part of that is make sure the students are known by trusted adults in the building. And also that students feel a connection to some aspect of the school community. Diverse range of opportunities to build those relationships is important to what we do. We offer and have increased in the area of support for students. So students are supported through a range of tiered interventions, starting in the classroom, moving to different kinds of tier 2 interventions, and then students who need a higher level of intervention. We have multiple programs to provide that in our school. It's definitely one of the things that attracts people to our school, and when students do choice in, as we've had some increase in that area, it's usually for that. Meaningful, relevant learning. Important concepts here are making sure that our learning is relevant for the world students are entering and meaningful to the students. So making those real world connections. Achieving our vision of the graduate to make sure students are communicating, collaborating, and solving problems in their classes. It's not just rote work and memorization, but when students are learning foundational knowledge, they're going to be applying that knowledge in some way to some creative tasks, some problem-solving tasks. Those are 4 of the things we've been told we're good at. In the next slide, professional learning culture. Gloucester High School, for example, we just did a day of professional development last Tuesday where we had 18 different sessions, 9 sessions each hour, all offered by Gloucester Public School staff. So folks stepping up and teaching each other. We did borrow a couple people from other buildings to help us with that. In special education realms, areas of specialty, but all within the district, all of it was provided. So that means people, putting out the call with Amy, putting out the call to we want PD on teaching all students. So meeting the needs of the students in our building, whether that's multilingual learners, special education situations, culturally responsive teaching, using technology to reach more kids. So that's a pretty rare and interesting thing that we're able to pull off that number of teachers teaching other teachers. So that's just an example of this strength. Community support, from starting with the school committee, broadening into all the different realms in our community partners, Gloucester Education Foundation and Wellspring, just to name a few, expanding that even now into our Coast Guard station, as I just talked to Chief Robinson yesterday about plans they have coming up. But we're always planning on expanding community support. It's a real strength for us. It starts right here with the committee. Commitment to improve. And so these are 2 things added that we've gotten better at and have been recognized by DESE in our report card. We've been able to improve attendance consistently over the past 2 years, real big improvements in attendance, and also in helping students graduate. So it takes a lot of different programs, a lot of different pathways that can be costly at times, and we appreciate the community support in making sure we can help all our kids have a chance to graduate. So those are our strengths. The next slide is our priorities. So these haven't changed. So the language will change as we move into a different phase of implementation, but our priorities remain communication and higher order thinking. And so, that's the primary responsibility of our English teachers and our history teachers jointly. But it is also something that is important across the curriculum, as communication is one of our skills in our vision of the graduate. In the next realm, our teaching STEM skills, so in science, technology, engineering, and math, where problem solving is the primary responsibility in those disciplines, which is another aspect of our vision of the graduate. And in both these areas, we use brain-based, culturally responsive instructional practices. That's the Ignite Juncture Review you've heard me talk about so many times. To get students engaged and support student growth in science, technology, engineering, and math, as well as in the communication areas, history, social studies. In terms of these priorities in math, we've got 60% growth, 60% growth in our MCAS scores in the most recent data. And we're looking to move our biology and our English MCAS performance in that direction. Our last priority is we're preparing students and supporting students with that post-secondary transition. So to do that, we need to offer a wide range of courses so students get to try things out at Gloucester High School they might be interested in later, and then continue and deepen that preparation by going deeper, whether that's in a vocational area or in engineering or in the arts, theater and music, etc. And then we've built a comprehensive counseling curriculum that makes explicit to students the post-secondary options, and you'll hear more about that when we get there. Those are our priorities. So what are we doing in our priorities? This year, we are in the areas of English and social studies particularly. Our weekly PLCs are focused on common pacing, implementation of the lesson design, review of student work, and adjustments to practice. So, how are we using the collaborative time that we have? It's really to help teachers help each other get the best out of the curriculum that we have and make adjustments based on how students are doing, and doing that on a weekly basis, really responsively. That's really important work for this year. So professional development has been focused on teaching all students. So We're looking at populations that might not be doing as well as other populations and targeting our professional development in those areas. And then teachers sign up for areas that'll help them grow. So if I'm seeing an increase in multilingual learners in my class, I'm going to take Sabrina Giordano's PD that is helping me implement sheltered English immersion strategies, for example. Our STAR 360 assessments and interventions. As you know, that's still a relatively new initiative at Gloucester High School. So using the assessments in order to intervene with students in English and math, and those are tier 2 interventions in our math skills and practice and English skills and practice classes. And then we have committed to co-teaching a section of both English and history in grades 9 and 10. And you'll see parallel in priority 2, co-teaching sections in 9th and 10th grade math and science. And that's making a big difference because it's one of the populations we need to make sure are growing from year to year. And we've gotten some great PD. Mike Titus has been very complimentary of the high school teachers. I hear that in other buildings, Mike has told me that, Mike Jarvis rather, sorry.
I think they agree.
Right.
But
Mike Jarvis, your names are too close
We'll
for
work
me
on
to
that.
remember.
Yeah.
Mike Jarvis did some PD with the co-teaching, and he was very complimentary of especially the subject area teachers and their knowledge of special education interventions. At the high school level, often Mike tells me that you sometimes have really a lot of conflict between the content teachers and the special educators when they co-teach, right? And he found the teams we have in place were really ready to take the next step. So that was really nice to hear. And then this year, we're also implementing an AP pre-calculus new course that provides a couple different pathways now for students to get to an AP level. So even when students don't take the advanced level at O'Malley, they can still get to AP and potentially 2 AP courses by the end of their time at Gloucester High School. And then the students who do the O'Malley advanced work can get to 3 AP classes in math by the time they're completed. So that really helps us get more kids to an AP level. All right, that's priority 2. Priority 3, I don't know if I can read that, so I'll read this one. Our comprehensive school counseling curriculum is now being designed in SCORE, which has replaced the old online application, which was called Naviance. And now it's SCORE, which is a better, more responsive curriculum that lots of schools have moved to. So we've redesigned that curriculum into the new platform. And leading this, that's all led by the school counseling department and supported by different community partnerships. We've gotten some GEF funding with this startup. Wellspring has partnered with us on providing some of the workshops. So if students in a particular area of the post-secondary process, Wellspring will run a workshop for us on, say, interviewing skills, job applications, filling out the FAFSA form and get some kids additional support there. And then the Chamber of Commerce has, we've worked with them on speakers, folks coming in to help. And then of course, the program advisories in our CVTE programs as well. We continue to work to sustain our dropout prevention and graduate support pathways. Folks working on this include the attendance team, our after-school failure intervention, which is a way when students aren't doing well throughout the year, they come here to the library to work on credit recovery during the year instead of just going to summer school at the end of the year. We're doing it and intervening like as they go. The RAISE program, Anchor and Gap, you know, are also alternative programs. And right now we have a grant to expand into multilingual learner credit recovery that we're working on launching this winter. With particular credit recovery that's targeted at students who have some language difficulties and can't benefit as well from the summer school, the online curriculum that we have that is really language heavy. All right, so we're completing preparations for the new medical assisting CVTE program. And as a result, launching a CVT exploratory program for 9th grade students. So we're working on the preparations for starting that this fall. Just answered yet another, question from Desi in our Plan B application process today with Brenda earlier before I came up here. So that's ongoing every day, and we're getting closer. The room's getting there, getting ready for inspection. Just about a month, actually. The 1409 will have its first inspection. Professional development focused on teaching all students in the career pathway classes. So just like in the other areas, this is the focus for our career pathway classes as well. And then just because I knew Mike would be here, I thought I'd throw on, we also at the other end, the big transition is the 8th grade transition into high school. So we got to start there first. So we've been having regular meetings between GHS and O'Malley teams involving teachers, counselors, the two of us. Some great teacher leadership and counselor leadership on this, which has meant that our teachers are getting into O'Malley advisories on a regular basis earlier in the year, not just related to scheduling, which is normal with counselors, but getting our teachers in front of O'Malley kids early. And then we have a student visit coming up as well. And also we're expanding the O'Malley visits to Gloucester High School. So this includes our students interested in our CVTE programs, and we'll also be expanded move up day that we're working on for this year. They'll be staying with us for lunch and a couple other special things, 3 different rotations that they'll be doing while they're here to make that a more meaningful time. So that's the other end of the transition. So both the post-secondary transition and the O'Malley transition. So what we got to do to keep moving in this direction is we are revising, we'll continue to revise the 10th grade ELA curriculum to better support culturally responsive teaching and data cycles. So this is going to be, I figured it out within our budget proposal, but it's going to cost the money. So we're going to need all the students in an English class will be reading the same books at the same time. So what that means is all 200 kids need this particular book rather than the teachers rotating the use of the books between them. It's a small expense in the general budget, but it will mean that the teachers are able to help each other with pacing and with interventions, with student work, grading student work together and responding to challenges students have together.
Are these hardcover books or are they electronic?
Mostly real
Real
books. Yeah, real books. Yeah. And the reason, there are a few reasons for that. And one reason is because for many of our students, it's difficult to read long on the computer, right? You're reading, we all know this too, right? You're reading on your laptop backlit, you're reading 30, 40 pages at a time. It's eye strain and a problem. Also, there are lots of increasing reasons to get our kids off of, they're super useful, but we want to get them off their Chromebooks as well. And we're dealing with, for instance, right now, a lot of AI issues, where more and more of our students are teachers are back to like kind of blue book exams. Do we remember from school days, blue book like that kind of, so we just finished our exam period earlier today, where students are writing out their essays.
Okay.
And that's the way to know that they're not being
Yeah.
getting AI help. There are lots of other things. GoGuardian is a tool we use.
Interesting how we push technology so
Yeah.
much and now we're.
Yeah. And
moving
it's
away
changed
from it.
great. I mean, the thing is, for other parts of, it's still amazing, right?
Right.
They still tools, but we're learning, it's great for some things and other things we want to get them away from the computer.
And then there's some science also behind.
Yes. Yeah, memory and writing are better linked than memory and typing. So taking handwritten notes and things like that, processing with handwriting, yeah. So we'll continue refining our brain-based instruction using STAR 360, this reading data that we now use to track their progress, and to make decisions about student interventions and the curriculum, implementing the professional development focused on teaching all students and improving our tiered interventions. We're also looking to strengthen what we're doing, maximize our staffing to offer supported foundational courses while at the same time offering the specialized courses Right, that's always a balance at the high school level. We need to offer like foundational support. We want to keep class sizes small to keep the highest needs students growing. But at the same time, we've got kids who are getting more specialized, right? They're going into very particular areas where there aren't as many other students in those areas. And that's a staffing issue. So a couple things we're doing in the coming years, we'll be offering a dual enrollment civic engagement course to help us get at that part of our mission statement, and offering a dual enrollment world history course with Southern New Hampshire University. So kids will get credit for an honors level 11th grade class and Southern New Hampshire course. And then we'll see if that's gonna work out for us. We may offer that to some other areas as well, expand that.
Do we still do dual enrollment with North Shore?
We do not right now have those agreements. We do with Salem State.
Salem State.
We have some with Salem State, and we're looking to expand those with through, we had last year, we ran a couple with North Shore and they didn't work out as
Okay.
well with our vocational program. We had them doing some tech work embedded in their courses. They have a hard time with our schedule doesn't align well with their schedule. They need to offer their professors a particular time, particular time slot, and our schedules rotate. So we found solutions to it, but they didn't work out as well as we wanted. So so that's why one of the reasons we're looking to the Southern New Hampshire course is because our folks can teach those classes, right? They vet our curriculum, our schedule. So we're excited for that, and that's a way to maximize staffing and opportunities for people. We're always looking for those things to balance this. Low class size for our foundational courses where students may need extra support, and also offering specialized courses at the same time. And those, you'll see those in STEM as well. So we can move on to slide 3, strengthening our opportunities. We'll be looking to continue to support and refine diverse offerings in the fine and practical arts, business and CBT, so we can introduce all students to future possibilities and build towards first steps after high school. So it's a similar issue. So we're looking to like, how do we get kids exposed to things, right, early on, and then which takes staffing, while also offering those upper level specialized courses. So a couple adjustments we're making. The exploratory program. So when we have the CDT exploratory program, we'll have more. So of Mike's 8th graders coming up, more than half of them will be involved in vocational for the first semester. It'll be like 110, 115 kids. Not all of them will want to stay in the program, but we will be able to expose a larger number of students to our vocational programs, which is really exciting and a great way to maximize our staff.
How long is the exposure?
It's 13 days.
Okay.
So yeah, a little longer than some other schools. We
Yeah.
looked at like a couple other schools, like 6 days, 7 days.
Well, it depends how many programs.
It just right there, more programs. We really thought 2 weeks, 13 days would be a good number to get the foundational understanding, some safety training, and then get them to make something that they can take away.
Right.
Like really do something in the program. So we're excited about that.
And is that while they're at O'Malley and then?
No, it'll be here,
When they
so
first
they'll be
come.
choosing at O'Malley this in March, so they'll be saying like, yeah, I'm interested in the exploratory, I might wanna do vocational. Right? And they get to try it out for a semester, and they'll rotate through each of the shops. Right, and in addition to rotating through each of the shops, where we've also added a communication and leadership component that Chief Robinson will be doing. So that's, he's on a different contract, so he can teach extra classes, and he volunteered, he wants to teach this class. So he's included in the rotation as well.
How many hours a day?
It's just one block.
One
So the
block.
exploratory is just one block.
One block
Yep.
for 13.
So one block for 13 days, yep. And they'll get to rotate through each of the 5, what will be 5 shops, plus the Chief Robinson leadership and communication workshop. And then at the end of it, they'll have about a week where they work on a presentation where the presentation is like, this is what I'm choosing. Like, this is my top, this is my second, this is my third, and then we do the lottery. do they get their first, second, or third choice if we have any over subscriptions? Which we, like in auto, we tend to have more kids, even though we have double the number of kids in auto, we still get more than 30 kids choosing auto. So then they go to their second or third choice.
What are we doing for caps? I mean, this is a whole nother conversation, maybe another time, but
Caps are
I have so many questions.
Yeah,
about
caps are the same, caps are,
The
you know, haven't
same.
changed, yeah, there's potentially some movement at the state level, Brenda tells me, from the meetings she's been in. To expand caps for exploratory and things like
Okay.
that, but, you know, we're kind of sticking to what we've known until we get told otherwise, but. You know, having somebody in Brenda's position means like we're in all of these meetings and she's able to like stay afterwards and make phone calls in a way that I could never
Right.
do that, you know, kind of investment. So we get more of the like, what's going on behind the scenes kind of thing, where things might be shifting or heading. She's really good at that.
And at the end of the 13 days, do they make a choice? or-
Not yet, at
Not
the
yet.
end of the semester,
Okay,
so they're gonna check out auto,
yeah,
and they're gonna then check out electrical and medical assisting and so on, right?
yeah.
And then for the week at the end, we built, within those 13 days, we've still built in time at the end, where then they will build a PowerPoint presentation.
I see.
That is, you know, has to have certain things in it, but the end of the presentation is, and I choose
Yeah,
blah, blah, right?
yeah.
So it leads them through a reflection, so they can think back to, through the presentation, they're reflecting on their experience and
Yeah.
they're making a choice.
But that doesn't play out until the following semester, like if they choose auto.
Yeah, they'll start, so it'd be now, actually, today is the end of the semester, right? So the students would today or yesterday have finished their presentation. We would have the students actually, we would have had it at the end of the
Yeah,
last week.
Yeah.
They're working on their presentations while we are doing the lottery
Yeah.
during exams.
Yeah.
So today they know.
Right.
Tomorrow, you're in auto, or you're in medical assisting, or you're in electrical or whatever.
interesting.
Yeah, so we're gonna use the exam period to run the lottery, communicate where the kids have gotten. Some other districts have a 3/4 choice, like choose after 3/4, but we think that's too late in the year to give them, like our shop teachers really think they can get them a really good like auto experience in a semester, but if they only had a term, particularly the last term of the year, it wouldn't be the same. So that's why we decided to go with a 13-day rotation and a semester choice point.
Do you know off the top of your head what the cap is for the new program?
15, same,
15?
as far as we know, and again, it could change.
So we're running, how many kids through these programs?
100, like, so there's 105 students, 105, 100 to 110 students, yeah. 15 would get
15
in
gets
for
selected.
medical assistant.
Okay,
So that's.
thank you.
Sure, yeah, there'll be more to come on
Yeah.
that front, lots more. But that's where we are now. We're, like I said before, next year we'll be implementing this SCORE curriculum. Through our guidance counselors, getting into classes and doing the post-secondary transition curriculum with our students. We want to continue our support for student post-secondary planning. So that includes, what we've been doing is classroom-based planning, workshop planning, and one-to-one planning. One of the ways of magnifying the reach of our guidance counselors and the Wellspring support is running these workshops. So instead of a counselor just meeting with one person about a FAFSA, we can get all of us into a room and meet about the FAFSA. And it really it just better uses our staff, right? And there are issues that, you know, one particular student has that others don't, and that's the time for the one-to-one. But we're using workshops a lot more, that kind of thing. And we can continue to refine and expand the graduation post-secondary pathways. So this involves this implementation of our multilingual learner credit recovery. And science clusters are ways of making more explicit the graduation and post-secondary pathways that different students may have in our school. And all of that, you know, of course, takes making sure we have these resources to provide the different pathways to the students. So those are our priorities, and that's what we're looking to do next year.
Well,
It's a lot, yeah, we do. It's a lot of people, there are a lot of people, I didn't name everybody, I tried to name people along the way, but there's a lot of people are involved in making this happen, a lot of good leadership. Laura Carlson in the school counseling transition part of it, and the linking to Wellspring, for example, John Barry in the science clusters, that sort of thing, Sabrina Giordano and Vanessa Lindbergh with the ML credit recovery pathway, which the central office, Christine Castle at the central office, and Amy is also involved in that effort. So it does take a lot of us collaborating.
Do you know if the school committee is gonna get a presentation on the new program?
I think so.
Medical
I don't know.
assistant. We know very
The medical
little about it.
assisting program, yeah.
Yeah, I would assume we'll have
No,
that.
figure out what the
We'll
curriculum
make sure
is.
it's on the agenda in the probably spring,
Okay.
before we launch.
Yeah, we have a spring meeting generally, right? We
Yeah.
have a spring
We have a spring high
presentation.
school presentation, I'm sure it will be.
that we always do in
May,
the
yeah, you
spring.
do it in May.
Yeah, and we can do, I mean, I'd be happy if that, you know, to do anything along the way, you know, basically where we'll be in the spring is, we will have submitted our plan, our part B of the submission, we're finishing that up now. We will have had a preliminary site inspection of 1409 where we're building the medical system. You know, it's actually our electrical shops and our carpentry kids are doing the upgrade in there based on plans that we've got from other schools who have this program, Salem and Peabody. So
What
we'll have a
about
lot.
What about curriculum?
So for the state prescribes the standards
Yeah.
for the curriculum, so when we have a go-ahead. On, you know, knowing that, you know, we're looking for grant, a lot of this is grant funded as
Okay.
much as possible.
Yeah.
So as soon as we're able to bring someone in, plan is, you know, to make sure we're able to get somebody early. So that they're taking the state frameworks and actually creating lessons out of the state frameworks as early as possible. To be ready for September, but the state is very prescriptive in
Right.
terms of like what the units are and so on. But you do need to take that and say like, okay, what am I doing with the kids
Right.
tomorrow? And that's what the summer work would be, is like turning what the state frameworks are into.
And you're working with other communities that have this program?
Absolutely, oh my
Okay.
gosh,
I was
Brenda
saying, how
is
are you doing this?
always talking to and visiting as
Yeah,
well.
okay.
You know,
Peabody.
our various folks have visited Salem, visited Peabody, calling them, just questions come up about exploratory as well. How
Exactly.
do you grade exploratory? They're different teachers, they have 6 different teachers in a term, what does that look like? So, okay, who's doing it? And then, you know, we're meeting with Mike Muniz internally about what that needs to look like in school brains. So the teachers are able to input the grades, even though it's unusual situation, we got 6 different people. So we've been able to partner, and sometimes we hear a solution, we like something from Salem, we like something, you know, but that won't work. This is good for the building, but this solution to school brains, we like better from Peabody rather than Salem. So it's like a real listening to people and pulling together what is gonna work for us the best. We have weekly meetings, so Brenda and I have bi-weekly meetings for CVT in general. I also meet with Jack Porters and Formatos in those meetings. And we have weekly meetings about the exploratory and launch of the medical assisting. There's so many moving pieces, needs to every week.
I'm just curious to see how the schedule is gonna work, regardless of what program they're going to.
The rotation
Yeah,
of
it's gonna be a lot of
the,
moving around.
yeah, there's a lot of moving around, but again, she's has the calendar's done. She's done the 13 days. We also, one of the things we realized is it's like launching the year is an issue. So that first period is actually it's 15 days,
Right.
right? So that they have 13 days in the room and 2 days where you're getting kids acclimated, they're freshmen, you're getting them acclimated to being in high school.
Right.
So we did build in, he worked around we had a couple days where there might be a like a 3-day week, or you get your Thanksgiving mixed in, she added the days there.
Yeah.
Where you might have to remind kids what you did the Wednesday, so we really got in, Brenda got into the calendar next year for exactly what the rotation.
And are
That's
you-
how far along we are in planning, yeah.
And are you only exposing the 9th grade and not the 10th grade?
Yeah, so we got that guidance to start from DESI, it's like they have to prove it, so we're like, okay, this is your guidance, is to start with the ninth graders, to build a ninth grade program. We might be able to fold others in, the 10th graders. One of our workarounds that we've talked with DESI about is identifying students who might have prior experience in a field, right? Like they work on cars, they're working with in some capacity in carpentry, right?
Mhm.
And those students may come in as year 2 students
Okay.
if they can show certain
Yes.
skills
Yeah.
and say, you know,
And
and then,
safety
and they'll have to do, they would do the safety on their own, like we
Yeah.
would have them over the summer.
Okay.
So the guys are, the teachers are, so kids, because the issue is when students drop, we then lose that spot for 3 years.
Right.
Like we don't have any, how do we fill that?
Yeah.
So that's where we're piloting it this year with a couple auto students are doing.
And then for another time, I'm curious how you're gonna add school choice to that equation, but not tonight, because I
Okay.
know we have to.
Mike has been waiting patiently.
Yep.
No, I mean, it's great stuff, James.
Thank you, thanks, Mike.
Any other questions? No? Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
moving on to O'Malley.
Ms. Tice,
Yes,
take it over.
that's right. My presentation will follow very similar flow as Principal Cook's. Talk about some areas of strength, where our priorities are, what we're doing now, and what we're trying to do further. One thing that, a year and a half in here, now, and have kind of getting a lay of the land is, you're gonna notice that some of our current strengths are also our priority. Okay, because there's been a lot of work being done. O'Malley's also gone through a lot of change in the last 4 years, or few years, right? So
Thanks to you.
it's thanks to a lot of people, to be
Yeah,
honest.
not just you,
Yeah, but I appreciate it, but it is, as Principal Cook was mentioning, there's a lot of people doing a lot of work here, and my goal really at this point, moving into next year, is to keep the focus on the things that we've made gains in and not take our eye off the ball too soon. That's a thing that can happen a lot. You get a little bump and then you say, so what's the next thing? I really think we need to just lean in to where we are right now, and so that's, you can see that here, is that the strengths are also the priorities and also going into next year. So special education is an area that a lot of work's been done prior to me coming in and since I've been here. Really working on the different programs that we have, the different structures we have. Middle school is always kind of a tough nut to crack when it comes to special education, because we're the first time that students are being fed from multiple schools into one school. A lot of times, the elementaries have a chance to get to see who their kids are and make the small adjustments. But then we receive all of them. Right, and so what may have been working at Plum Cove for these 2 students, and then, and maybe there's something happening for 2 students over at West Parish, but now we don't have all that other stuff. They're here together. So we're really trying to be thoughtful about that and I've been working very closely with Dr. Jarvis, and having conversations with the elementary principals, like what does that really look like to be thoughtful about? Who do you guys have in 3rd grade? So I'm ready for them by the time they come to 6th grade. Right, and so we've been doing a lot of that. That's kind of the program audits here. Dr. Jarvis, I think, will talk more about that. We're noticing, there's a very high need for the therapeutic portion of our special education programming. We're working on enhancing that. Right now, that's kind of part of what you've heard as partnerships services. My predecessor started that. We are continuing to refine that and work through that. Because, but we're doing a better job with that. Also curriculum instruction, a lot of work going on with this. Everybody's in the game for this one. Our math and ELA implementation is going really well. I talked last year about the folks needing time to get good with it, right? Because it's a big resource. It's got a lot of ins and outs when you buy these types of programs. And we're really settling into that comfort of the programming. And, you can really just, when you walk into the classrooms now, the comfort level is much higher. They've been through the units, at least in ELA, math, there's still some new points here, but it's, you're seeing that leads into the next one, that you're seeing increased engagement.
Mike, when you say, are you talking about Amplify, the program?
Yeah, so math is Desmos, which is owned by
Desmos,
Amplify, and then ELA is Amplify.
Yeah,
Our social studies department in grades 7 and 8 is piloting investigating history.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's sort of more an inquiry-based way of looking at history instead of sort of like memorization.
Yep.
Of facts. It poses sort of these big essential questions and uses that as the lens to engage with the content. And some really strong tools we've had is some of our supplemental programming, in particular in math, IXL, and then tools like Quill in ELA, really allowing teachers to increase differentiation and meet the learning gaps that students may have. And it's tier 2 level of intervention, but it's happening in the classroom, right? They are able to sort of, because they have resource with the tools and they're gaining the comfort, we're able to see multiple things happening in the instructional block.
What's that called? Quill?
Well, yeah,
We currently have Quill.
yes,
I've just never heard that.
yeah. It's not a full curriculum. It's a
Just
tool.
tier.
It's a tool that they can use to help with writing.
Okay.
And it complements very well the Amplify curriculum.
and just because I having a hard time remember, we chose Amplify, what, 2 years ago?
For ELA, yes, yep, that was selected prior to me coming on board, so last year was the first full year of implementation.
Okay.
We chose Desmos last year.
Yeah,
So
Desmos
this is the
last year,
first
yeah.
year for the math.
Yeah, and this year we're doing the pilot on the history,
Right.
investigating.
Yeah.
history.
That's a little bit different, just for whatever it's worth. The social studies kind of frameworks from state to state are really different. You don't have that sort of national sort of framework the way that we do the other things. So that's really a Massachusetts DESE-led initiative, and it's also free. So that's a bonus. It's doesn't have necessarily all the bells and whistles of the other products, but it's certainly in line with what the state of Massachusetts is expecting. It's very rigorous, and it's a more engaging way, I think. It's a nice engaging way of introducing social studies curriculum to middle school. So other parts of our student engagement that is really high, obviously. O'Malley Academy tends to just draw a lot of our students on any given session. We've got about a third of our students who are participating in O'Malley Academy after school. It's a draw for them to come to school, and to be there for, maybe middle school is a time where kids are finding themselves. So to have that extra opportunity to find your people is really important. And our Science Central, some people know it as a Science Center, but Science Central working on expanding programming, looking at more and more cross-disciplinary opportunities for students. So whereas O'Malley Academy is kind of this different way of engaging with school outside the school day, Science Central is happening during the school day. But looking at what would it mean for social studies, right? When you're studying ancient technologies, what would that mean to understand the science behind that and get hands-on with it? In the Science Center, math as well, looking at certain units. How do we apply that to, say, CAD software in planning and then 3D print, a tool? So we're seeing it expand. Even though Science Central, we're seeing it expand into inroads into cross-curricular activities and sort of rethinking the traditional middle school experience for the kids and how they're applying their learning. And then, so our facilities, right?
Can I just ask a quick question
yeah,
on O'Malley Academy? Do you find enrollment pretty consistent, a third each grade, or does it Or are there more sixth graders?
It's really pretty consistent, and it's also a really good cross-section of our student demographics. So one of the reasons why I say they because, obviously, Mark and Becky, who really run it, do such a good job of engaging everybody with it, but, we always get very high marks from the state. One of the things that they're looking at is the demographics data. Do the students attending O'Malley Academy more or less match the demographics of the building, right? And we do a very nice job of engaging our multilingual learner students, students with IEPs, low-income students, high needs, it's a really good representation of our school as a whole.
Can I follow?
You
up? When it comes to O'Malley Academy and the different offerings, are there wait lists for any of those? I mean, does every kid get to participate in what they're looking to do with O'Malley Academy?
So everybody gets to participate in O'Malley Academy.
Yeah.
They may or may not get into their first choice for a given day, right? So there are different sessions, 4 days a week.
Yeah.
And some of those sessions are offered multiple times. So, let's say it's pottery and ceramics, well, that's on Monday and Wednesday.
Yeah.
So, maybe you get in on Monday, but not Wednesday. So, but to the most part, most students get to do what they want to do. And a lot of those, it's worth noting that also, a lot of times offerings are based on student feedback and input to Becky, that hey, we'd like to see someone do this. And so as they're playing the next session, would somebody be willing to run this program? Those kids are asking for it. So it's a nice way for the students to have some agency and feel engaged as well. And then, facilities, we're really trying to, when I think about the sort of physical footprint of building and what we're trying to do, there's a lot of kind of pieces of that. There's the aesthetics piece, which is very important. Kids want to feel welcome and proud of their school. They want to see, that's a place that is, that's a place they can be proud of. And obviously we talk about just general functionality and safety, right? So the window project kind of hits on a lot of those, and we are nearing completion on that, which is great. It's aesthetic facelift, makes the classrooms much more comfortable. Been remarked on multiple times, and even some of our students who don't know the building in another condition, might say something, and the teachers say, you gotta understand, this is like really, really nice compared to what it was. So it's a notable difference for that. And we also,
Heat and cool.
yeah, hot and cold, yeah. And sort of just, and the look of the building, it definitely makes it look sharper, as kids are coming in. So, and then also we got a new sculpture on our facade. I want to give a big shout out, on that to, Brett Dutton and Nicole, Zadikowicz, because, that is an end result of a grant, that was, secured from GEF, so also always appreciative of GEF's support. The kids in doing their 2-point perspective unit in art learned how to draw a 3D sort of facade of the building, and then were given sort of the creative piece was, and we want to build a sculpture on the front. So after you've got your facade, now design the sculpture and embed that in that. And some kids had a lot of fun with it. They had 40-foot octopus and but in conversation throughout all of it, we really narrowed it down to wanting to do sort of something that had an ocean theme. They got to sort of engage with and work with a real working artist, and that was put up this year. We now have plans, and we'll get into this, but it's plans to carry on that work and continue to build to it. So that's that's that piece again of middle school kids. It's not just it would be nice if we just got funding and said, oh, you got a nice sculpture. Kids that day it was put up, I heard a very distinctly kid go, oh, those are the fish. Like they knew that, they saw that as they saw, even though it might wasn't their design, they knew they were part of that process. And it created that ownership and again, that collective pride in the building of the work. So
It looks terrific.
I love it.
Looks
I
absolutely
love it.
terrific.
When you're thinking of facilities, do you ever think of the auditorium chairs?
Yeah. I do,
and
yeah. And you know, and some of this is,
yeah, awful.
yeah, and I
Talk
think,
about pride.
What?
Nothing you want to announce?
No,
Okay,
but it was talked about a couple of years ago.
yeah. Well, I mean, just the chairs. I know we got into the auditorium for sound and everything.
No, but the chairs were talked about as kind of a starting point, so definitely it's good to keep them on our radar.
I don't want to sit in those chairs again.
Yeah.
That's my priority this year.
all right.
I know you have yours, I have mine too.
No, but it definitely is because actually the aesthetics of the auditorium, outside of that kind of the art deco.
Yeah.
It's a really nice space,
Right.
but it needs to be, it needs this maintenance, it does need to get done.
And a lot of good work that goes on in there. So
Absolutely.
we want to encourage that.
Absolutely. So priorities, you know, as we're thinking moving forward, really, you know, we're constantly trying to work on our special ed programming, but really, now we have a new special ed director. You know, him and I have been collaborating a lot with some folks in our special ed department, really want to focus on what does that mean and things you can't necessarily do mid-year, but moving forward, what would it mean to ensure we're resourcing those properly, right? And kind of looking at the larger picture and as James mentioned, coming up with how do we maximize the staff we do have, right? So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Student engagement and curriculum, kind of put those together because ultimately there is a lot of overlap there. But we need to commit to the resources required to further our shifts in instruction and student engagement, right? Like we're really making some progress there, but we have to understand what does that mean to be sustainable with that? Okay, and what's the planning we need to do in order to make that long term? And because there's a lot there that is grant funded. And that has a lot of implications, right? So we'll kind of talk through that a little bit and kind of what that looks like for those things. And, you know, continue to upgrade our facilities, both the aesthetics and safety. Because again, those are multiple pieces there. So what we're doing, I mentioned that we're restructuring our therapeutic programming. We're looking at some of our ASD special education services to make that more robust, better meet the needs of some of the students we have.
What is ASD again?
Autism spectrum
Okay.
disorder.
Yeah.
Looking at our other special education services, right? So things like our language-based program, our learning center, and our inclusion model, right? Like so students that aren't necessarily accessing a specialized program, but do have inclusion IEP services, what we call B-grid service delivery, right? How are we better sort of aligning those? So we're maximizing the use of the people we have in front of us, so that, you know, if and when there's a transition from one of our other programming out into the inclusive setting, making sure that that's getting picked up by the house special education team, that, you know, and rather than having the folks try to go and be with them because we're gonna run out of people. Right, so it's better aligning that programming and better understanding what's our exit criteria to go from one program into the inclusion setting. So all work that we're talking about right now, that we're gonna enhance more next year. And also looking at our schedule, the instructional leadership team did some work on this last year. You know, the tough budget season kind of put a pause on that because I know this will be, James, you can probably familiarize this, but the middle school is very heavily dependent on staffing as it relates to our schedule. I'm sure it is at the high school as well and everything, but you know, last year when we were talking through what the house models that we have and the teams that we have, we really had to kind of pause that work until we knew where we were gonna land. So, but there's a way to look at our schedule to say, are there better ways to meet the needs of our students with IEPs, in particular in these programs, to have them to improve their access to elements such as Science Central, right? How do we get them in there with the proper support? And some of that is just logistical scheduling, structural pieces that we need to take a look at. This year, right, we've been continuing to engage in professional development with our implementation of these programs, both internally, right? ELA has been mostly in-house capacity. That capacity has been built. Huge shout out to Steph Kucher, who's our program leader in the ELA, leading that work. Also Kate Robertson, curriculum coordinator, helping support that. That a lot of that capacity has been built, and now it's colleagues learning from colleagues with some great teacher leadership roles there. Math is where they were last year, so we do have some vendors coming in from Desmos, some Desmos coaches coming in to work with the team, continue to build that capacity with the program and the system, so that becomes, again, self-sustaining, and we're doing that. So that's, a lot of hard work there. Again, here's the example of IXL, but folks we're supplementing those curriculum. No curriculum perfect, okay, and that's what we've talked about. What else needs to go in there to supplement that? Piloting investigating history in 6th and 7th grade. That is not in 8th grade. 8th grade is civics. It's a little bit different. That was a shift that the state made a few years ago. So that's a different thing. Investigating history does not go up to the 8th grade. So they have their own piece there. And then figuring out how to, did a lot of work this year working with Becky, GEF, folks at central office to understand how do we keep Amelia Academy sustainable, okay? Similar conversations with the Science Central folks and trying to form more partnerships and to make that more robust and sustainable as well. And I guess what I'll mention here is the reason why we need to do that is because, so O'Malley Academy is mostly funded by what's known as the 21st Century Learning Grant, okay? And this is how all of these 21st century learning programs are funded, okay? It's every 3-year cycle, you lose $20,000 per year in like, so if you have $120,000 for your 3-year cycle, you get $120,000 for 3 years. Even if you've absolutely done an amazing, wonderful job, your next cycle, you get $100,000 per year. Okay?
For 3 years.
For 3 years.
If you haven't done a good job, you don't.
You don't get it. So that's even.
So you do really well, you lose money, but if you do really not so well.
So it is, so the theory of the grants as it exists is you have 3 years for the district to figure out how to take on it. Like, it's not meant to be a forever grant funded program. So we have gone through a few cycles. It had been brought up. Really kind of, we've been pushing really hard because we're really starting to feel the pinch of, materials more expensive, right?
Costs go up, mine's going down.
Right, so we're getting a lot of support from a lot of places, okay, but we do need to understand that trend is going to continue for the foreseeable future, and we need to be really thoughtful about what does that mean about getting a line item into my local budget that is able to be used for it, even as an after school program, and that is grant funded. We need to be supporting it another way. And also the Science Central, looking for partnerships and grant funding, a lot of grant funding one of the positions, right? And Amy Donnelly, it's a grant funded position right now. All of the behind the scenes work is not possible for a classroom teacher to do. Those positions are essential in order to provide the opportunities that the kids are having right now. And that's not to say that the classroom teacher doesn't do any work to make it happen. They've got a plan with Amy and Dave. And they need to, they do co-teaching when they're in the lab, and so they need to know it, but the amount of setup that is required to give these kids really exceptional lab experiences, it just doesn't exist.
Something simple like managing equipment and supplies.
Well, and to, Amy and David, we were having a conversation recently, and it's, kind of, there's this quick turnover. A block leaves. They've just used all of the materials for the whole experiment. B block's coming in 5 minutes, right? And so there's no way to reset that if it's not for these additional things. So we're really committed to that. It is really just something that we want to even expand. So those just, we're doing a lot of legwork right now. Right now is the legwork to figure that out, and then really need to continue.
Do you know how that grant is funded? What's the funding source?
Which grant?
The 21st century?
That's a state grant.
So it's a state.
Yeah, it's a state funded DESI grant.
Okay.
We
Not
started
bad.
at $180,000 when we first had.
We
this.
started at 180,000?
Yes, so we've been through enough cycles, we're down to.
100, and they've adjusted small things here, but we're at like 110.
Yeah.
So,
110 to 120. GEF has been a tremendous partner in
Yeah.
helping us fill some of the gap, and in recent years, last year I had some money from the TAG grant, we could have the academic portion of it, because we're not gonna have that grant this year, so we've been piecemealing it together. We did put a small amount in a line item at O'Malley this year, just to show that we're trying, right?
Right.
But that amount is not gonna sustain us, so we need to build a larger plan to
Right.
sustain it.
Okay.
You put a line item in his budget.
Yeah, it was like $8,000, it was not a large amount,
Yeah.
what-
Sorry, there's 8,000 dedicated to contracted services and then 12,000 dedicated to
Okay.
paras.
So it's 20 in total,
Yeah.
but it's a start.
Yeah.
Cause we have to show that we're starting to pick some of that up.
We have to be, that's the real conundrum, is how do we get, when these things start coming off grants, like.
Yeah,
Right.
and as you see, the work we're gonna be doing, we know kind of some of the work we have to do, cause some of it is getting a little bit more, just tightening up some of the budget process, setting a little bit some boundaries that, we hadn't had to set on programming before, without really, we don't want to weaken the program, we don't want to limit the opportunities, but there's some things we can do. Also, it is gonna have to be a conversation about the value of O'Malley Academy and what do we want to invest into it moving forward.
And for the Science Center, Amy Donnelly's position is funded through Breeze Cove, it's a private donation, and it was a 2-year donation, so we're seeking alternatives to sustain that beyond the end of the school year.
Yeah, this is the second year. This is the second.
I think if a third of the kids are taking advantage of O'Malley Academy, that's
So
pretty good.
And,
growth.
and that's the thing with like the numbers, if you look at O'Malley Academy's budget, it can be sticker shock at first. Even as folks who aren't just familiar with it, but we're talking about, and don't forget, it's 6 weeks over the summer. And we're servicing around 200 kids, you're basically running the school year round for a third of your, for a third of the students, which is phenomenal, but that's, it is an investment.
Yeah.
It costs money, so.
It's an investment in the future of our community, so.
All right,
it's
Yeah.
worth it.
yeah. And then finally, facilities and the upgrades, obviously the window and door replacement project, got the facade sculpture. We have some upcoming HVAC improvements to the health office. That's one of those rooms that over the years has just never received air conditioning. Not ideal when sometimes the reason the kid ends up there is because they're overheated from being outside in the warmer months, and now we're sending them to the nurse and it's hot in there. So that's a grant funded project that Gary has been working with me on, but we're gonna get some air conditioning in there, which is nice. And this is more on the DPW end, but we have had building wide HVAC upgrades, just working on. I've been assured things that are outside of my base of knowledge, but big upgrades to HVAC that will give us some increased control and hopefully thermal comfort throughout the year.
Well said.
Keep those nurses happy.
So for the strengthening our priorities, so we're gonna, moving forward, special education, we really have to look at the appropriate staffing, make it in place to build a robust special education programming. Some of that's looking at what we already have, right? And how do we streamline the resources we have in-house. Also, I'm stealing some of this, but we want to make sure that we've got vision statements, entrance and exit criteria and philosophy for each program. We want to know why the kids are there. Really clear, explicit, right? Not just kind of, this is what this is meant to do. And that exit criteria is really important, as we said, as we want to shift kids out from, maybe a program into some inclusive setting. How do we know that they're ready for that, right? And to do that. And then, again, utilize more of our special education staff for that. Priority 2 for student engagement and curriculum. First one, maintain and support curriculum resources. We're in a good spot for that right now because of ESSER funding. We will in short order not be in a good spot
this last year?
ESSER's funding has been spent, so next year to continue some of the curriculum, we need to get it into the operating budget.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm putting that out there as just a sort of down the road idea, but, that we've got a lot of momentum going with these particular products, and resources. Staff are, I mean, high level conversations about how we're utilizing them, what's the best way, which part's working, which is not, what do we need to do to supplement, and, yeah, that it would be real shame if if we had to sort of find some other way. It would lose a lot of steam. So, you know, we're gonna align, the O'Malley, one of the budget, impacts on, O'Malley Academy is some of the new, CBA, requirements for pay. So, and then also the sunsetting of the 21st grant funding. So again, that's that work I've been doing with Becky, you know, getting clearer, guidelines around how many students are expected to be in a given program. What's a minimum, right? Of students need to be able to take it. You know, gotta just take a little bit of look at our at drama. That's a very expensive piece of it, and thinking about how we're funding that and where we can. So we're looking to make some structural adjustments that will help, okay, but still won't get us all the way there, and that's just the reality of what we're looking at. So we want, you know, gotta sustain the funding, so we know some of that is local budget, some of that in operating budget, and some of it is to continue to work with partners and grant funding. I think I will say GEF has stepped above and beyond at this point, so the reality is I just want to put it out there, we have to be looking at alternative grant funding, I think, for that. So those are work we gotta do, and I don't have a lot of detail on that right now. We're continuing to engage Brace Cove, where we're working with some other funders through GEF who want to have sort of their own project, and working with the Science Central staff and that. So we're looking at a lot of options right now to make that happen, and a lot of promising conversations, but nothing that I could guarantee to say that this is sustainable long term.
I don't wanna hear that.
We're confident that we're working on a plan for at least the next year or two. But we would like to build a plan that goes longer than that, so we are continuing to look for additional funding sources and support. And we probably will have some sort of presentation or update later on, at least for how we will sustain it for next year or two.
Right.
This spring, but we're looking to try and look longer than that. So when we have things to report. Sure.
Yeah, so when I talk about sustainability, I'm not talking short-term sustainability, I mean 10 years from now,
Right.
where do we want to see the science center, not do we still have it?
Yeah.
Right, that's my thinking as we're like approaching this, and grants go kind of quick, so I'm starting that, I want us to have us starting that conversation now, both partners, district in here, just because if we keep waiting until the last year of funding, we're never gonna get out ahead of it, so.
How much staff do you have at O'Malley that seeks grants? Like would be a qualified grant writer or seeker?
I mean, quite a few, GEF, we get, I mean, GEF,
Staff that writes.
I feel like sort of every cycle I'm getting a few
Requests,
approvals.
yeah, someone that seeks them and finds, someone that can
Yeah. So,
react to a grant opportunity.
yeah, so we have quite a few, right?
Yeah, okay.
ELA department in 8th grade just recently secured one to work with Lane's
Coven.
Code, yes, it's a theater group. Again, the art department is continuing their process, working with that. They're always working with Carlos and our band program, and there's a lot of other ones. The issue is when we talk about these larger ones, things like Science Central,
Yeah.
O'Malley Academy, we're talking about budgets that are well outside of a typical ask of an educational organization.
Right.
Um,
There are a lot of teachers that go through GEF for these types of like, I mean, COVID, grant and those kind of things. Amy Donnelly does a lot of grant writing to help support, the Science Center,
Okay.
Central. And, you know, we work with them as well. We meet with, Emily's been a tremendous, from GEF, has been a tremendous help in connecting us with people. We have recently, part of the larger plan that we'll share out later, but we've recently, invited Senator Bruce Charr and Representative Ferrante to come see Science Central to kind of get some more attention on it and get our word out there
Yeah.
of the amazing things that we're doing at the Science Center at O'Malley. And to really get some support. So we're working to do that. Yeah, but those are bigger grants than just applying for, you know, something to support classroom curriculum. This is larger.
Yeah.
So we're,
Well, we want much.
well, we want the little and we want the big, right? We want all. All right,
uh,
are you on the next one?
Yeah, so then, facilities, an area where I wanna focus moving to next year is thinking about, you know, where can I partner and who can I partner with? To sort of make sure we're all on the same page, right, and that we're like our priorities are aligned. The goal, always being that when I'm thinking about this is a focus on safety and the welcoming environment, right, so the place feels safe, but also have a sense of pride and wanna be there and are, yeah, so. Continue to partner with DPW, to prioritize facility upgrades that improve aesthetics and comfort for staff and students, right? So, you know, I'm really trying to get alignment where, because our buildings are owned by DPW, sometimes they have something that's on their list, and whether that's through specific grants that they received or just was already on their list, I'm trying to start like a conversation of, all right, so where's your head at and where's my head at, right? Like, because we want to make sure that if you're gonna invest in the school, which is always gonna be appreciated, but was there some other thing that, you know,
Right.
maybe you just didn't know about, right? So, trying to really get a good line of communication there, and that's had some success. Working with IT, right? So some of our facilities pieces around safety, things like, you know, badge swipes at the doors, camera systems, our radios, those are overseen by IT,
Mhm.
right? So I need to be working closely and have been working closely with them as we're trying to sort of fill some gaps. So, you know, we are still in need of a few internal and external cameras. Okay, so working with them to see, and you know, and that can be a safety piece, right? It's not great to have blind spots, to look back on. You know, there's always real-time adult supervision, okay, in areas, but, you know, it's nice to have the tape to look back at what you're doing if you need to conduct an investigation or look back on something. And there are a few spots where we have a few blind spots that we could, you know, really be helpful to have some cameras there. Whether that's something that, you know, I start wanting to fold into my budget, or if I'm just collaborating with them as they're looking at their budget. To be determined, but I just want to make sure that they are aware of what my needs are as they're trying to meet the needs of the district as a whole. And that's been a very positive conversation. Same thing with the radio infrastructure, you know, talking with them, nothing necessarily wrong with our radios. There's a lot of benefits of having a building built as well and constructed as solidly as O'Malley Middle School. There are downsides as well. The building is so densely built, and because of the footprint, it can have an impact on if certain spots, the radio waves being able to connect well. That's not something that new radios are gonna fix. There's a thing called a repeater, which boosts the signal. So, you know, again, working with them, trying to figure out how do we do that? And that, you know, and that's all kind of behind the scenes safety stuff that you hope you never have to use, but that's not, you don't want it not to be there in the event that you need it. So really trying to just think about, you know, how are we any gaps we have, how are we trying to prioritize those and work our way through those. And again, then once we have all that in place, what's the multi-year, plan for maintenance and replacement and things like that, but want to get there first where we have, I think what we need for a modern middle school to really be as tight as we'd like it.
So, I work at the courthouse. We're coming home next week to a new building that's been, updated significantly. And it's the same design and the same builder as O'Malley that built the courthouse, right? But we're just as dense and thick.
Yeah,
And have the same struggles. It would be interesting to see if we could get Grant over there to look at the technology that we've now put in for functioning, to see if
Yeah.
maybe show how it's working in the same type of dense building.
right, yeah, because I know
Give my
the
kids-
the repeater was actually the recommended of a third-party vendor
Yeah,
who came.
what
to-
is a repeater?
It's like an
If you
extender.
know.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
signal, so the
yes.
signal goes there
That
and
thing
then
I was
out
telling
to
you.
there.
Yeah, so it,
Oh, like so we have them, that's what we just got in our ceiling, they're these white things that look like spiders.
yes, so
And
those,
they're everywhere now,
Yeah.
and internet is unbelievable, connections are great.
yeah, so it's a signal booster
So-
basically, right?
right,
So,
okay.
and, it's not necessarily about the distance,
Right,
because you could be on the field and on one end and you're gonna hear the radio. It's when you get into those certain spots.
certain spots,
And,
exactly.
again, that third party vendor was coming in and that was you don't need new radios, what you need is a repeater in the building,
Okay.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. That seems like an easy fix. Just a lot of money.
I do. The high school is similar, the last two bullet items, working with Grant and Brendan,
Okay.
are somewhat similar issue, they're saying.
Yeah.
In terms of always trying to improve the video, the
Yeah.
camera situation, and always trying to improve the radio situation. We actually tried long antenna, like a different antenna situation to help us, and we need to, it's the same, yes. Same boat, even though I could use walkie-talkie here and talk to somebody at Pathways.
Mhm.
But there are other places similarly, where it's more difficult in the building.
Yeah, the dead spots. Okay, any questions? Excellent, thank you very much. Very helpful, yeah, from you directly, and the concerns and the progress we've made and how we need to continue. So I appreciate the time.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Nice being
Thanks
here.
for having us.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So much.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you all very much.
You.
Thank you both.